All right, so you guys wanted to know about sales, right? Well, get ready because today we're diving deep into the world of sales with a legend, Joe Girard.
Yeah.
You requested we unpack his wisdom, and we're going beyond just skimming the surface.
Absolutely.
This guy sold over 13,000 Chevrolets,
Wow.
snagged a Guinness World Record, incredible, with the book How to Sell Anything to Anybody.
Classic.
But what's really intriguing is how his story goes way beyond just pushing cars.
It really does. It's about transformation.
Mhm.
Joe didn't just stumble into success. He clawed his way out of a really tough past to become a sales superstar.
Yeah.
And that journey is key to understanding the power of his methods.
So no silver spoon here.
No.
We're talking poverty.
Yeah.
A father who constantly put him down, even some trouble with the law as a kid.
I think he got kicked out of school at 14, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, you're right, he did.
Yeah.
This wasn't some sales guru theorizing from an ivory tower. He was out there hustling.
Exactly. He had early jobs, shining shoes, selling produce, even tried his hand at construction before it all went bust.
Wow.
Each step taught him about connecting with people, and that desperation to provide for his family is what landed him a car salesman job at 35,
Oh, wow.
a turning point that ignited everything.
And it wasn't some slick sales pitch that got him his first sale. It was pure, raw need. He was so determined to feed his family, he literally pictured the customer, a Coca-Cola salesman, as a bag of groceries.
I remember reading that.
I know, right?
It's fascinating because that's the core of his want principle.
Right.
It wasn't about manipulating the customer. It was about channeling his own genuine desire into action.
Yeah,
And that authenticity resonated.
it's powerful.
What's striking is how this applies to anyone in any field. If you can tap into that deep-seated drive, that's fuel for your goals.
You got to harness that inner fire.
You do.
Now, Joe really hated the term mooch when it came to customer.
Oh, he hated that.
He saw right through that salesperson fear of wasting time.
He really did. He understood that most customers aren't experts.
Right.
They're often nervous, unsure, worried about being taken advantage of, especially with a big purchase like a car.
Yeah, makes sense.
Joe called selling a bloodless war, but one fought by building trust, making both sides feel like winners.
That makes total sense. Instead of seeing a mooch, you see a human being with their own anxieties.
Yeah.
And by acknowledging that, you actually create a more genuine connection.
Right. He believed in seeing the person, not the sale.
I love that.
Now think about his famous Law of 250. He wasn't just spouting feel-good advice. It was a calculated part of his strategy.
Oh, yeah, that's an important one.
Everyone, he said, influences 250 people.
That's huge. It's like a ripple effect.
It is.
One bad experience, one rude interaction, and suddenly your reach is 250 people worse off.
And in today's world, with social media and online reviews, that 250 multiplies exponentially.
I know, it's crazy how that works.
Yeah, it's not just about closing a single deal. It's about cultivating those positive interactions that have a lasting impact.
So we've got this flow of people we need to connect with authentically.
Right.
How did Joe actually manage this constant stream of potential customers?
Well, he had this brilliant analogy, the Ferris wheel of selling.
Oh, I love this one.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Imagine a Ferris wheel always moving. As some seats empty, others are filled.
Yeah.
That's your customer base. You're constantly bringing in new prospects while nurturing those already on the ride, knowing they'll eventually come back around.
He wasn't passive about filling those seats either.
Yeah.
Joe was relentless with phone calls, kept meticulous records, and mastered direct mail campaigns long before email blasts were a thing.
It's like he built a system, almost a machine, to keep that wheel spinning.
Yeah.
His I Like You campaign is a great example.
Oh, yeah.
12 times a year, everyone on his list got a simple card with a warm message.
Wow.
No sales pitch, just a genuine touch point.
Which is so smart.
I know.
In our world of constant marketing noise, that kind of genuine human connection really stands out.
It really does.
But he didn't stop there.
No, he also had this network of bird dogs,
Oh, yeah.
people who refer customers for a reward.
Essentially, he created an army of ambassadors, spreading the word and bringing in pre-qualified leads.
He was paying what, like $50 a pop?
$50 a pop.
Wow.
He understood people love to help, feel important, and maybe make a little extra cash. Joe tapped into that beautifully.
And these weren't just your typical referrals. He convinced barbers to put up signs offering $50 for customer leads.
Oh, I love that.
He had doctors, ministers, even bank loan officers sending people his way. It's like he saw a potential bird dog in everyone.
He did.
What's fascinating is he didn't just throw money at it.
No.
He truly valued these relationships, treating his bird dogs with respect and appreciation.
Right.
He knew their word carried weight, and that trust was key.
It really is.
Okay, so we've covered connecting genuinely and building a steady flow of potential customers.
Yeah.
But how did Joe actually seal the deal? What was his approach to closing a sale?
Hmm. It wasn't about pressure or manipulation. It was about getting to know the customer. He observed everything.
Uh-huh.
Their clothes, their body language, even the condition of their trade-in car.
Interesting.
Joe was gathering intel like a spy to understand their needs and motivations.
It's like he was qualifying them beyond just their budget.
Yeah.
He wanted to get a sense of their anxieties, their desires, even those unspoken objections.
He even had these subtle techniques for gathering information.
Like what?
Instead of bluntly asking for their name, he'd say, "And your name is," prompting them to fill in the blank naturally.
Oh, I see, I see.
It's these small details that build rapport.
Those subtle cues are fascinating. Once he had that trust and understanding, he could move towards the close confident. He was offering a solution that truly fit their needs.
Right.
Now, one of his more unconventional techniques was spot delivery.
Oh, yeah.
He'd let the customer take the car home before finalizing the deal.
Wow, bold move.
Bold move, right?
Yeah,
It seems risky, but it brilliantly taps into the power of ownership.
I think so.
Think about it. You're driving a new car, showing it off. That sense of ownership makes it harder to say no when it's time to sign.
I agree.
It's like that friend who lets you borrow their amazing sweater knowing you'll fall in love and buy it.
I know, right?
But Joe didn't just apply this to selling cars.
He didn't.
He was also a master of leverage, delegating tasks to assistants so he could focus on closing deals.
He understood his strengths and outsourced the rest.
Right.
He even had a story about his accountant advising him to hire more assistants because it would actually save him money due to his tax bracket.
Seriously?
Yeah, he was making so much that spending some on help increased his net income.
That's thinking outside the box.
It is.
And it's a principle anyone can apply.
Absolutely.
Figure out what you're best at and find ways to delegate the rest.
You got it.
Now, while Joe had this very specific way of selling cars, there's a deeper truth in his approach that resonates far beyond the car lot.
There really is.
He wasn't about tricks. It was about authentic desire, empathy, building trust, and exceeding expectations.
That's what it's all about.
These principles can be applied to any field where you're trying to connect and persuade.
I agree.
So after diving into Joe's world, what stands out to you? What resonates most with your own experiences and goals? Hold on to that thought as we continue unpacking his wisdom in part 2.
I'm excited to keep going.
Me too.
So you know what strikes me about Joe?
What's that?
He really knew how to turn lemons into peaches.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about closing the deal. It was about making sure those customers were happy long after they drove off the lot.
Right. He was famous for his customer service. If someone had a problem, he'd go above and beyond to fix it, even if it cost him money in the short term.
He understood that a happy customer is a repeat customer.
Yeah,
And that word of mouth was gold.
for sure.
Remember the law of 250.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about avoiding negative ripples. It's about creating positive ones that keep expanding.
So true. He was turning customers into advocates.
Exactly.
That's invaluable.
It really is.
It's interesting how this ties back to the want principle. It wasn't just about his own desire to succeed. It was also about genuinely wanting his customers to be satisfied.
Exactly. It wasn't manipulation. It was a win-win mentality.
I like that.
And that's where selling the smell comes in.
Okay, now I'm curious about that one.
Yeah.
It's easy to see how that applies to a tangible product like a car.
Right.
But what about services or less tangible things? How do you sell the smell of, say, financial advice?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It becomes about selling the feeling.
Mm.
In the case of financial advice, it might be the feeling of security, of having your future taken care of.
Right.
It's about understanding the emotional need behind the purchase.
I see. So it's about tapping into those deeper desires
Yeah.
and then finding creative ways to evoke that feeling.
Exactly.
For a software developer, maybe it's selling the excitement of bringing a game-changing idea to life.
Exactly. And Joe was a master storyteller.
Yeah.
He didn't just list features and benefits, he painted a picture.
Yeah.
He used anecdotes, often about his own struggles,
Yeah.
to create an emotional connection with the customer.
He made himself relatable, someone you could trust.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about selling a car, it was about sharing a part of himself.
And that authenticity was powerful.
Powerful stuff.
If a guy who came from nothing could achieve this level of success, it gave people hope, a sense that they could do it too.
That's so important.
Yeah.
It's interesting how he balanced this big picture inspiration with a very specific, detail-oriented system.
Right.
He didn't just rely on charisma. He had processes, he tracked his results, he was constantly refining his approach.
Right. He had that relentless drive, but also a methodical mind.
Yeah.
He didn't leave things to chance. He was building a machine for success.
You know, speaking of methodical, let's circle back to spot delivery for a second.
Sure.
It's a fascinating tactic. What are your thoughts on the psychology behind it? Why is it so effective?
It's about creating a sense of ownership before the deal is even done. It's almost like a psychological trick.
Right.
Once you've experienced something, once you've pictured it as yours, it's much harder to let go.
Makes you think about how that principle could apply to other fields. Could a designer let a client test drive a website mock-up? Could a consultant offer a trial run of their services?
Definitely.
It's about finding ways to let people experience the value before fully committing.
It's about going beyond the sales pitch and creating a tangible emotional connection.
And remember, Joe was doing this in a time before the internet, before social media.
Wow, yeah.
Imagine the potential of spot delivery amplified by today's technology.
Right.
You could let people test drive digital products, software, even online courses.
The possibilities are endless.
Right.
But what's crucial is that it has to be genuine.
Oh, for sure.
It can't feel like a manipulative tactic.
Yeah.
It has to come from a place of wanting to provide value, of genuinely believing in what you're offering.
It's about building trust, not just closing deals.
Absolutely.
That's a theme that keeps coming up in Joe's story. It's not about tricks, it's about human connection.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes him so relevant, even decades later.
Yeah.
He understood that selling at its core is about understanding people,
Right.
their needs, their desires, and finding ways to create win-win solutions.
So true.
And, you know, we've touched on a lot of his techniques, but there's one we haven't explored fully.
Oh, which one?
The story about his accountant's advice.
Oh, yeah, right?
It's a fascinating glimpse into Joe's mindset.
It really is.
The fact that his accountant suggested hiring more assistants.
Right?
Because it would actually save him money in the long run due to his high tax bracket.
That's crazy.
That's a great example of thinking outside the box, of not being afraid to invest in your success.
He was willing to spend money to make money.
He was.
And it paid off in a big way.
It did.
But it's more than just financial investment.
Right.
It's about investing in yourself, in your skills, and in building a system that supports your growth.
Absolutely. It's about constantly looking for ways to optimize your process, to become more efficient, to free up your time and energy, to focus on what you do best.
It's about working smarter, not just harder.
Exactly.
And I think that's a powerful takeaway for anyone, regardless of their field.
It is. It's about challenging conventional wisdom,
Yeah.
about being open to new ideas, and about constantly seeking ways to improve.
Joe was a master of that.
He was.
He took risks, he experimented, and he wasn't afraid to break the mold.
I love that about him.
He wasn't just selling cars.
No.
He was selling a vision of success, a belief in the power of hard work, and a relentless pursuit of your goals.
So true.
And that's something that resonates deeply, even today.
It does. It's a story that inspires, but it also provides a roadmap.
I like that, a roadmap.
Joe's methods weren't about magic.
Right.
They were about strategy, about understanding human psychology, and about building a system that worked.
And that's something we can all learn from. As we move into the final part of this deep dive, let's keep that in mind.
Okay.
It's not just about admiring Joe's success.
Right.
It's about extracting the principles, the strategies, the mindset that we can apply to our own lives.
It's interesting you say roadmap because while Joe's methods were powerful, he wasn't handing out a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It was more like he was giving us the tools and the mindset to build our own path to success.
That makes sense. He wasn't saying, do exactly what I did and you'll sell thousands of cars.
No.
It was more about understanding the underlying principles and then adapting them to your own unique situation.
Exactly. It's like he was saying, here's how I think, here's how I approach problems, here's how I connect with people.
Right.
Now go out and find your own way.
And that brings us back to this idea of selling the smell.
Yes.
It's about more than just a catchy phrase.
Right.
It's about identifying the core essence of what you offer and then finding creative ways to evoke that feeling in your audience.
It's about going beyond the features and benefits and tapping into something deeper, something emotional.
And it's not limited to products or services.
It's not.
You can sell the smell of an idea, a movement, even a way of life.
Right, think about politicians, for example.
Oh, yeah.
They're not selling tangible goods. They're selling a vision of the future.
Mm.
They're selling the smell of hope, of change, of a better tomorrow.
Exactly. And the most effective ones are the ones who can connect with people on an emotional level,
Yes.
who can make them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
It's about that connection.
It's fascinating how this one concept from Joe's book can be applied so broadly.
It really is.
It's about understanding that people are driven by emotions, by desires, by a longing for something more.
Yeah.
And if you can tap into that, you can achieve incredible things.
You can, and it goes back to Joe's own story.
Right.
He wasn't just selling cars. He was selling a belief in the power of transformation. A belief that anyone could overcome their past and achieve greatness.
Yeah.
He was selling his own smell, a blend of grit, determination, and unwavering optimism.
And it worked.
It did.
He became a legend, not just because he sold a lot of cars, but because he inspired people.
Yeah.
He showed them that anything is possible if you have the right mindset and the willingness to put in the work.
He was a living testament to the power of his own principles.
Right?
And I think that's what makes his story so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just about selling.
Right.
It's about life. It's
Yeah.
about setting goals, overcoming obstacles, and creating a legacy that matters.
It's about finding your want,
Yes.
building your Ferris wheel,
Unleashing your bird dog.
and selling your unique smell to the world.
It's about taking all the lessons we've learned from Joe Girard and using them to fuel our own journeys.
Yes.
It's about taking action, embracing the challenge,
Yeah.
and creating a life that is both fulfilling and impactful.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a challenge.
Okay, I like this.
What is your smell?
Ooh, good question.
What is that unique essence that you want to share with the world?
Take some time to reflect on that. Think about your passions, your values, your goals,
Yeah.
and then start thinking about how you can sell that to the world.
We believe in you.
We do.
We believe you have something special to offer.
You do.
And we can't wait to see what you create.
Remember, Joe Girard showed us that anything is possible if you have the courage to dream big
Yes.
and the tenacity to make those dreams a reality.
So go out there and make some magic happen. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep selling yourself and your dreams to the world.